Good evening, folks. Steve Wraith here for a live Q&A. As promised, I would do another one of these at some point. Open to any question you want to ask. Can't guarantee that I'm going to answer it, but yeah, it can be Newcastle United related. It can be just a chat about the death of Her Royal Highness, Her Majesty the Queen, and the forthcoming funeral. It could be about the film, A New Breed of Criminal, which is on the horizon. It could be about anything you want. But please don't take offense if I don't have the answer or if I can't answer it. But just thought I would do one of these whilst I've got time. Good evening, Mr. Sifter. I hope you're well. Obviously, a lot of the content that I used to do on this channel is now gone. Decided to focus purely on Newcastle United and the NUFC matter side of the channel because it's positive. It breeds some great followers on here. We've got some great content as well over the last couple of months, and for me, I just feel it was the right direction to take the channel in. I felt I was getting dragged into the dark side of the internet, and the algorithm and the back of YouTube, where you find out the analytics of where your followers are coming from, tells you that. And I didn't like where my followers were coming from. And what that means is that's not a derogatory thing towards the people who are sitting watching the channel, like yourself, Mr. Sifter. I'll say you because obviously you used to love the true crime stuff. You've just said there that you really miss it. From my perspective, those people who were watching channels which I would never watch were where my YouTube audience was getting the recommendation from, and that in turn was affecting what people on this channel were, here predominantly for, which was football. And I had to make a decision, and I do listen to what people say. I do listen to what my viewers say, and I bump into people on a daily basis in Newcastle or further afield, and a lot of people will say you're spoiling the content of what you're doing by associating yourself with that side of YouTube. So it was a decision partly made because of my own feelings, but a decision that was made by you, the viewer. I'm not saying that I'm not going to revisit that side of YouTube in respect to interviewing people who have a positive story, people who've been involved in true crime and who've turned their life around, or people who've had an addiction or an addictive personality and have managed to turn their life around. But dipping into the dark side of the web, where there are tit for tat and, as Mr. Sifter says, the YouTube wars, that's not something I'm interested in. It's negative. It breeds negativity. And I think if you watch back through my videos over the course of the last 2 years, I've always tried not to get sucked in. I've simply made videos to try and put across my point of view, to defend myself. But ultimately, that just creates more problems for yourself, because ultimately you have a situation where whoever you've made that video in defense of, or if you're defending yourself against somebody, that person then has to come on and make another video, and you end up in a pool of toxicity, and everybody is sitting there with a popcorn out wanting to watch. And I get it, I understand. But as I say, if you go back through my channel over the last couple of years, everything I have done on this channel has always been for a reason and has always been thought out, and never really to provoke, only to defend. And that's why I've decided in the summer to walk away from that side of YouTube. And, there's plenty of content up there for those of you who enjoy it. I still have a few recordings left of Charlie Salvador to put up there. But look, I thought at the start of this anyway that you deserved that little explanation as to why, you know, maybe the direction of the channel has changed. 2 seconds, I'll have a drink of water. Has it changed the popularity of the channel? I would say no. I didn't lose a lot of subscribers. Has it slowed down the increase of subscribers? Yes, it has, massively. Has it reduced the amount of money that can be made from the channel? Yes, it has. Am I happier doing it though? Yes, I am. And, you know, I do feel, and yeah, I do feel I owed people an explanation. It's one of those things I got to put it in a community post. I just think that's, you know, that's not the right way to do it. And this is genuinely the first time I've had to be able to come on and do one of these and explain it in any true depth. But I am not saying that I won't go back to, you know, putting out some decent true crime content. But at the moment, I am too busy to do that. So NUFC Matters will continue 7 nights a week. By hook or by crook, I will get it done. I enjoy doing it, and I know the people who were on the show enjoy taking part. And again, some of the shows are more popular than others, but it's not about that. It's about doing what we enjoy doing. And we will always reinvent. We will always come up with different ideas. Nothing stands still. People will come and go. And for me, I'm happy doing it. So, you know, hope that explains it anyway. Any questions? I'm gonna stay on probably till 8 o'clock, no later than that. There's a few videos I'd like to watch tonight and a couple of other lives. Geordie Tune for Life says the England squad's a complete mess. 5 midfield players in a big squad. Shaw and Maguire. Why not Target, Kilman, and also Madison? I genuinely do not know how how Maguire gets in that squad ahead of Big Dan Burn. I really don't. Big Dan Burn for Newcastle has been immense since he signed. And I'm obviously going to be biased. I'm delighted to see Trippier in there. Delighted to see Nick Pope in. The injury to Pickford at Everton is going to hopefully give Pope that chance to get in and cement his place as England's number one. Trippier will always have some involvement at right back. But yeah, I just genuinely do not think Gareth Southgate picks players on form. I think that's a myth. I really, really do. Okay, I'm just going to flick through through here. Big Billy, how are you, pal? Good to see you back on, mate. I will try and do at least one of these a month so I can interact with the likes of you and Mr. Sifter. The Sears film is going very, very well. We have the budget secured. We have 99.9% of the actors that we wanted secured. We are waiting for one more. You will see very little in the newspapers moving forward now, because now it is at the pre-production stage. Things are very busy. It will be filmed before the end of the year in the northeast of England, surrounding areas, and in Spain. And it's a modern day take on the Sears story, and Stephen Sears' story in particular. It's not based on the whole family, but it is based on Stephen's life story. So the budget that we secured is not Hollywood budget. However, that doesn't mean that the film won't be good. It's going to go down the avenue of a, how can I put it? Rise of the Foot Soldier Avenue. And the aim with this film has always been to create a franchise, to make one which people are always all talking about, and to then go and make a second one. And this first one is a great film. It's a film which I think if you enjoy Rise of the Foot Soldier and films like that, then you will enjoy it. If you enjoyed The Business, you will enjoy that. It's a bit different to what people are expecting. There are certain characters that people think are in it, and I see people talking about the film all the time on social media, on YouTube. Some of those characters aren't in the film. Are there people based on those characters? There may be. It depends on your interpretation of certain characters. There are stories in this film which are true, and there are stories in this film which are not. It's called having, artistic license. And because it's a modern day take, it isn't set in time period. So although the film starts in older times, the current part of the film is set in modern day, but based on the Sears story, and Stephen Sears' story in particular. So it's progressing really well, to answer your question, Billy. I'm delighted with it. It's not going to offend anybody. It's not going to upset anybody. It's not going to rake over anything which it shouldn't rake over. It's a film. That's what you've got to remember. And as somebody who's watched virtually every major gangster film, if not once, if not twice, 3 times, and watched all of those brilliant gangster series over the years, I do like to think that I've got an idea of how to make something like this. I've now got the opportunity to do it. And I've seen the stick. Well, he's written the book. He's written the script. Now he's playing the lead role. You know what? If you can do it, why not? And it's a proud moment for me, because I can think of Payroll in the 1960s, Get Carter in the 1970s, Stormy Monday in the 1990s. This film is going to join a very small group of films, gangster films, crime films, set in the Northeast. And for me, that in itself is a very proud moment. And the journey that I've been on to create this is nothing short of remarkable. And if it gets slated, or if it gets praised to the highest, I'm not bothered, because ultimately for me, I will have achieved what I set out to achieve. And I always try to do that. And I will have also given local actors the opportunity to play local parts, which is a big, big bugbear of mine. I have been a professional actor in the Northeast for the last 10 years. And what has always niggled with me is that whenever there's a big production comes to the Northeast, whenever there's a big film casting, we are only considered for what Mike the Mouth, a good friend of mine, used to describe as coffin spit parts. And that means the parts with virtually no lines. And the people who were cast in the major Geordie roles were Southerners. People who came up here who can't speak the dialect, can't speak Geordie. Well, we're going to do something up here which should have been done many times, and that is give the Geordies the lead roles. Give those actors who haven't had the opportunity to play the major roles, give them the opportunity to play the major roles. And that's what we're doing. And that's what's going to make this special. It's what's going to make it unique. And it's hopefully what's going to make it a big hit up here. But I think what people need to remember as well is that we won't get anywhere if we make this for people in the Northeast and the Northeast only. And it's an international distribution deal that we've secured. So there is an intent to, to obviously play it to the international market. And that is what will help make this a success. Because when the film comes out, it's going to be international distribution, means that it's going to be on Netflix, it's going to be on Sky, it's going to be on Amazon, it's going to be available in all shops on Blu-ray, DVD. And for me, again, that's an immensely proud thing to have achieved. The contract has been signed, it's there, it's done. And we are now in pre-production. So it's great news, Billy, to be honest. And again, that's why I haven't had time to be involved in anything other than NUFC matters. 1 hour a day doing Newcastle. Nothing else matters, because I am focused on this and getting this right, doing it properly. And the people who I'm working with are very, very, very professional and good at what they do. And even the crew that we've got assigned to this now are from the Northeast. We haven't gone for outside crew. So it's a great opportunity for people in the Northeast to showcase the talent and to to put their head above the parapet, if you like, and do what they do. So hopefully that answers your question. Mr. Sifter, have you been in touch with Video Craig at all? Lad's going through a tough time at the moment by the looks of it. And the last time I saw Video Craig was the casting for the Sears film. He came for a casting. Pleased to say that he did well, but since then I haven't. No, and again, I've not watched any of Craig's videos at all. I know I've picked up one or two things from people to say that he's going through recovery, and if he is, great. That's a day-to-day battle, and it's a day-to-day battle that people can support him in, but only he can win himself. So I will reach out to him. If you're saying to me that he's going through a tough time, then I will reach out to him, Mr. Sifter. So thanks for the heads up. Geordie Toombalai says, it's ridiculous when you consider Southgate said they'll be picked on form. It's just the point I made before, Geordie Toombalai. It's absolutely, it's a joke, mate. John, good evening, mate. Thanks for everything you're doing. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Would be great to see Pope cement a place for the World Cup. I agree, mate. There's always that side of you when players get picked for England, of course, you know, groans if they get injured. I mean, we had Michael Owen, and you know, he got injured on international duty and was never the same player, and ultimately never really played a game for Newcastle. But yeah, I'd love to see. It gave me an immense feeling of pride as a Newcastle fan to see Trippier and Pope in the squad today, and that will only get better as time goes on. L. Stapleton, Steve, is it you being biased or is it Southgate? Good question, Mr. Stapleton. It's definitely Southgate. I mean, I thought he had a bias against Newcastle players. 2 seconds, I'll have a drink. I definitely think he had a bias against people from Newcastle. But since the takeover, he has been at Newcastle quite a lot. And that can only bode well for the future. He's definitely looking at Newcastle's other players. I've got no doubt about that. But with the World Cup coming up, it's not the time to be messing around with trying people. Ivan Toney being called up, though. Clearly likes what he sees in him. So, yeah. But no, I think it's him being biased, not me. Tom Dixon, good evening. One of our biggest supporters on the show. With Newcastle lying in 11th place in the league, where do you think we'll finish? I fancy a 6th or 7th. Tom, it's a difficult question, that. On early season form, Newcastle, you know, should have had more points, got robbed by VAR. But I went for a top 10 finish. And nothing I have seen so far will change my mind. Isak, our new forward player, striker, whatever you want to call him, will make the big difference. We just need that luck with injuries. And I guess a lot depends on what happens in the cups. If Newcastle get a good cup run in the League Cup, 9th of November now, we'll play Crystal Palace at home in the next round of the League Cup, or we get a good run in the FA Cup, it's going to change things. And I guess it depends on the mentality of the manager, the owner. You know, where do they really feel like they want to finish? Do they want to go through a season where they're in that Nations League or whatever it's called and are starting a season so early and playing Sundays? And it's a nightmare, really. It's not a blessing being in that competition. I don't know, mate. I'm still going to go top 10, and I'll be happy with top 10 and a good cup run and getting to Wembley. Big Billy says, great news. It'll be a belter of a film. Yeah, mate, honestly, you will enjoy it. I'm really pleased with the script. And 4 of the actors are in it are established names, big names, not from the Northeast. And they're not playing huge roles, but they're in it. They're in it for me because they're friends of mine and they love the script. They think it's great. And that in itself tells me we're on to a winner, because those people have been in these kind of things before and they're buzzing, absolutely buzzing. And they're not getting paid a king's ransom either. This isn't a high budget film, as I said. So yeah, I think you'll be excited by it, mate, when you see it. It'll not be one that you stick on the fire after you've watched it. Didn't Southgate say he picked based on form? Yes, Chris, it is a complete joke. He picks who his mates are. You get that feeling. Steve, get Ronaldo in. He's a good actor. He dives a lot, mate. He dives a lot. I guess that's what you're saying. Dubs has done a howler for me going to Manchester United instead of getting some matches here. So I'm done with him. But how do you guys feel about that? Trulls, it's a strange one. I saw him making some comment when we were doing the show with Malcolm this morning. Supermac, who of course played for Newcastle, Arsenal, England, etc. He said it's the kind of thing the players say when they go to a new club. He's come to a better club. He forgets he's on loan, I guess, but I don't think Dubravka will play for Newcastle again. And Newcastle have already acted quickly. They've got Pope in goal, who's a far better keeper than Dubravka. And they brought in Karius, of course, who has come in to replace Darlow, who's currently injured. So, what Dubravka says now is irrelevant, I guess, to us and everybody else. But yeah, he's had a bit of a howler. Mr. Anderson says, watched the film Legend the other day. I see you were connected to the craze and was wondering what your opinion is on it. Was it accurate? The Craze 1990, Peter Medak, Ray Burgess, is more accurate than Legend. Legend is very, how can I put it? It's. I feel like it's a glamorization of crime. I feel it went down the wrong route. I know that the people that they spoke to before the film, and when they went to watch it, weren't impressed with it. So, as an actor, I thought, and I was lucky enough to be at the premiere, Mr. Anderson. So, I got a chance to go to the premiere with Freddie Foreman, who was a good friend of the Craze and who had given some advice on the production and the script. I then met Tom Hardy after the film, and I thought he nailed Reg. I thought he played Reg really well, but I thought the performance of Ron was completely over the top, and I did tell him that as well. And I think when you've met the two people as I had, they were both very quietly spoken, and it was, even in the 60s, they were inaudible. They spoke very quietly like that, and it's just bizarre to go in and play Ronnie Cray like that. But I guess he had to make them different. He's a better actor than I am. He's getting paid the big bucks. That was his interpretation. Was that what the director told him to do? I don't know, but I wasn't impressed with Legend. Bits and bobs were okay. I thought it was a disgrace that they had Reg beating and raping Frances. She was, the marriage was never even consummated, never mind rape. And he didn't lift a hand to where he loved her. That was just a lie, and something which upset the Shea family as well. I've got to be perfectly honest. So if you want to watch a film which is, as close as you can get, The Craze 1990 with the Kemp brothers is the more accurate as far as a timeline and as far as facts are concerned. The other films, the rise and fall of the Craze, they're not brilliantly done because of the lack of budget, but I'd say The Fall of the Craze is worth a watch. And The Craze Dead Man Walking, which I was a consultant on, which is about the Frank Mitchell story. Again, it's worth a watch. And the director of that film is the same director that we have now for the Sears film, A New Breed of Criminal. So maybe it's worth watching that to get a bit of a feel for it. And keep an eye out for Trafficked as well, which comes out next year, which is a film that I did with the director as well. Well worth a watch. Just Incredible says, best British gangster movie, Long Good Friday. What you think, Steve? It's in there. It's in my top three. My number two film, British film, is Villain, 1971-72, Richard Burton, which is based on Ronnie Cray. But my all-time British gangster movie is Get Carter, for obvious reasons. And the fact that I got the opportunity to interview the director of that film a few years ago, in Newcastle, is something I'll never forget. Dubravka not on the bench tonight. Newcastle must have a clause. If he plays 2 games, then the transfer must go ahead. It's interesting. He just doesn't seem to be able to get in the team, does he? He's clearly on a better paycheck down there, mate. That's the only reason that he's gone down there, I think. Weird. El Stapleton, where will we get to watch the film when complete? The Sears film, I think I mentioned it earlier. It'll be on all downloadable services. So Netflix, Sky, Amazon, and it'll be available on a Blu-ray and DVD release. So you go in, wherever you buy a DVD, whether it's HMV, Asda, Tesco's, wherever you can go and buy a DVD, WH Smith's, it'll be there. Big Billy, Steve, I read the Sears book and this film will be great. Believe me, pal. The thing is, Billy, with Stephen's book in particular, in the book that I did, Operation Sears, there's a multitude of stories which we can use and fall back on. So writing film 1 was quite easy, and writing film 2 will be even easier. So we've got to make film 1 and hope that film 1 is spot on and everybody enjoys it. And we've got to leave them wanting a second one. So thanks for your kind words, mate. I'm glad you enjoyed the books. Obviously, the books are the Sears, tried and tested at the highest level. That was the first one. The second one was a breed apart, which was by Tony Sears and Eddie Lenny, which is the 100-year history of the Sears family and other families in the Northeast. And of course, Operation Sears. And they're all available on Amazon or at www.badboysbooks.net. I've missed loads on all of the films banter. Where can I find the info to catch up? Funko, if you're talking about the Sears film, right back at the start, mate. Have a look. Have a look when we finish. I'm not going to be on too late because I want to watch a couple of lives tonight. Jonathan Ward says, "Hi Steve, what's your favourite James Bond film and who is your favourite James Bond actor?" For me, mine is No Time to Die. I love Timothy Dalton, such an underrated and dark Bond. Jonathan, great question. I am a Roger Moore Bond. That was the era that I was born in. And Octopussy is my favourite film. I just love that. I watched it so many times. I love the whole Fabergé eggs thing, and the guys who worked at the circus. I love the whole circus theme. I just thought that was really, really clever and really, really good. I think my guilty secrets, probably my guilty pleasure, should I say, is probably Moonraker. It's probably one of the worst productions, but again, it was of that era, and I really enjoyed Moonraker, and I know people didn't, but the Daniel Craig ones are superb, and I can see why people like Sean Connery. I wasn't a Timothy Dalton fan, not a huge fan, but I would watch them. I'm the same as everybody else. Christmas Day, which of course will never be the same again, was always about, getting up, getting your presents, having your dinner, watching the Queen's speech and sticking James Bond on. And that was my Christmas Day sorted. So yeah, unbelievable really to think that we'll not be doing the Queen's speech anymore. It'll be the King's speech. Yeah. It's very sad. It's hit me hard, that. And I am going down on Monday. Book my train. I'm going to go down and pay me respects. I think it's right. Andrew says, "I lost faith in Southgate at the Euro finally, bottled it and played Bruce Ball." I've got to be honest, mate. At those two opportunities, the World Cup and the Euros, I think that's finished Southgate. I don't see how we can recover from it. I really don't. And I don't think the team's played well since then. But yeah, I think you're right. Dave says it's a shame Wilson's injured. Would have been in squad. Yeah, I mean, he might be back this weekend. I do know, obviously, ASM Wilson and Bruno were all training today. So fingers crossed. "Hi, Steve. Love the NUFC shows. Thanks for always reading out my comments," says Top Bobby. "I'd like to share my first match experience with you, but I don't use social media. How can I get it in?" John, I can already see that John has been in touch. So yeah, get in touch with John and he will help. Andrew, no, he's not. Bill is contracted at the moment, as you will have probably seen, to Coronation Street. So the answer is no. But there are some good local actors in it, and they will be announced in due course, Andrew. Geordie Toombalay says, "When Michael Caine was in the film at Newcastle, I had the lighter he used given to me from my ex-wife's uncle. But when I got divorced, well, that was the end of that. It was a gold Dunhill lighter." Wow. Interesting story, Geordie Toombalay. You had it and then it went. John says, "Legend uses a lot of artistic license." I think you're right there, mate. I mean, I went into it earlier on. Mentioned that. Dave, what actors are in your film? Well, the ones that have been announced. Alfie Dobson plays John Henry Sears. Melly Barnes plays Michael Sears. Jane McKenzie plays the mother, Yvonne Sears. Tony Sears, who is the Sears' cousin, is going to play John Bryan Sears. Tony Hodge of Biker Grove fame, was in it for 13 years, is playing Albert Sears. Leslie St. John, who was in Auf Wiedersehen, Pet. Vicky, you may remember Ali Fraser's girlfriend. She is playing one of the aunties, Auntie Vera. We've got Michael McKell, who's been announced now. He is playing a character called Vic, who runs the security in Newcastle. Chris Connell and Sharon Percy McGregor are playing the two police officers, the two lead police officers in the production. So that gives you a little flavour of who is in it. And there's a lot more to be announced and to come. Geordie Tune for Life, Get Carter, as I forgot the name for a second. Yeah, Get Carter. No, Gary Fraser is not directing the Sears film, Saul Goodman. Unfortunately, lockdown changed everything. And, you know, Gary moved on and we moved on with best wishes on both sides. I like Gary a lot, top man. Wonderful to do the audition process that we did with him, which ultimately, you know, came to nothing. But he had such a different way of doing it. He had 100 plus people in a room and had people auditioning in front of each other. But no, it was, you know, it was fantastic. Good lad, Gary. Wish him all the best. But no, Gary isn't doing that now. Any books coming out? Tom, no, I haven't had time. I'm too busy with the film. And, you know, I've got a lot of books on sale, as you know, and to do books, you have to be ready to do one. You have to be prepared to do one. You have to sit down and have time to do it, and you've got to have something to write about. I will finish the Eric Mason book. Eric Mason, of course, was a good friend of the Craze. I was godfather to one of his children, and it's a book which was in progress before I sat down and started writing the Sears script. So that book will come out at some point, but it's not a priority. It's not time sensitive. But get yourself onto the website, www.badboysbooks.net, and you can see what books are out there if you haven't got any at the moment. What was your opinion on the Bronson film with Tom Hardy, says John? Haven't met Charlie, and you know, been friends with Charlie for you know, best part of 25 years. I thought it was really good. It was very Clockwork Orange, but you know, Charlie in those days was very Clockwork Orange himself. He was a larger than life character who was very eccentric, and that's the part that Tom plays so well. It wasn't an easy film to watch because of the way that it was written, but I liked Clockwork Orange that Kubrick did, so I enjoyed it. The portrayal of Charlie, well, I thought it was pretty good, and Charlie thought it was pretty good. So, yeah, I think he nailed that, rather than his performance of Ronnie Cray. Dubravka's fourth choice at the moment, I was told. I'm not surprised, Kenny. As I say, very, very strange, mate. Very strange. I love the film Danny Dyer did about avenging his parents' murder. Concrete down the guts. Lol. Yeah, Andrew. I mean, there's some good films on you know, Amazon and stuff, and Netflix, which it's a kind of, I guess we're all the same. We go through, we get in one night, there's nothing on the TV. You're sick of watching the news. You stick one of those channels on, you flick through, you see what DVD cover's on, or what the cover is, and you'll click on it, read the info, and then bang, it's on, and you stumble across some great films. But yeah, look, I mean, I that's the avenue I want to go down, but do it from a Northeast perspective. I want to change things. I want to move things around, and you know, I want to create this new, you know, this new base, if you like, for those kind of films up here. And why not? Why not? Why shouldn't people in the Northeast be making these films themselves and putting them out there? And if we can create a successful franchise on Tyneside, there'll be more work for all the actors and all the crew, etc. So, you know, that's my aim. That's what I want to do. Mr. Anderson says, thanks for reading me. Question one more, if you can, Steve. Are you a Dead Man Shoes fan? And if you did you know 1 Fort Eubank? I didn't know 1 Fort Eubank, but yes, Dead Man Shoes, great film. You know, it's my kind of genre. You know, I think when you watch that film, you're not quite sure what you're going to expect from it. And Shane Meadows is a fantastic director. Paddy Considine is a wonderful actor. There's another actor in it called Neil Bell. I think the actor that you're probably talking about is Gary. Is it Gary Stretch, maybe, who fought Eubank? I think that's probably who it is. But yeah, fantastic. Looking forward to the film, says Stella. Thank you very much. I love the Bronson Salvador interviews. Don, there will be more. It takes a while to get them up and edited, and etc. For me, it's a pleasure to be able to share them with you. With Charlie's blessing, I would never have done it if Charlie hadn't given me the opportunity to do it, Don. And he is so angry and frustrated that his parole chances keep getting put back and put back and put back. And ultimately, we're now looking at December, but he's currently on a phone ban. Anyone who was on his visiting list, me included, we've now got to reapply. It looks as if the prison authorities seem to be, messing a little bit with, maybe it's not just him, but everybody who's a category A, who's in the unit. I'm just, I'm gutted for him. I'm concerned for him as well. The regular phone calls have disappeared because he's got this phone ban, and there doesn't seem to be light at the end of the tunnel. Last time he got his phone calls back, but the reason that he was banned was because he gave an interview to Sky, and that's worldwide. It's a worldwide, news station. So I think he upset the governor and maybe upset the authorities. Let's hope he gets back on soon. But yeah, I will put more on when I can. Good evening, folks. Good evening, Political Bias. No comment, Craig. The Man with the Golden Gun. Political Bias. Great film, by the way. Yeah, Scaramanga, the man with 3 nipples. Good villain, him. Good villain. Sean Connery, Goldfinger, says Chris. Yeah, again, great soundtrack. Great soundtrack, that one. Roger Moore's eyebrow has a role of its own. Andrew should have been credited that one. Yeah, the eyebrows are fantastic. I think that's what made Roger Moore, wasn't it? He always got the villain. He always got the lady. Roger Moore is James Bond. Everyone else is just impersonating, says John. You'll get lynched, John. You'll get lynched making claims like that. When I finish graft, I'll come back to the start of the stream and catch up. Great to see you still at it, mate, and fitting well. Dan Canny Boss. Funko Freddy, thank you, mate. People like you I miss on here, to be honest. Lots of you who essentially used to just tune into the true crime or the news stuff. It's just great to see that you're all still here and still around. Got a big interest in the whole Cray story, Steve. I wonder if you ever spoke with Albert Donaghy at all. If you were in that world and frequented with different characters. I spoke to him briefly on the phone about 6 weeks before he died. And the guy who put me on the phone died a year later. I was hoping to go and meet him, and I was going to take Freddie Foreman to meet him, and it never came about. Fred was happy to go and then changed his mind at the last minute, and it never happened, Mr. Sifter, which is a pity, because as you will probably remember, Freddie and Albert on a documentary supposedly passing each other on, I think it was BBC's The Underworld series, on the escalators, and Fred saying that he wasn't very happy with him, if I wanted a better expression. Would have been nice to put the two of them back together and maybe sort that out, but it never happened. But yeah, I've got a huge interest in it, Mr. Sifter, as you will imagine. It is interesting. Simone, good evening. Yes, we are live. I know you always come on and say, "Is this live?" Smile if it's live. Well, I'm saying hello, Simone. It is live. Saul, no, I am not the director. Instead of Gary, not at all. Daniel Craig and Skyfall, just how I imagined Bond. Excellent. Yeah, it was. I loved the last one. I mean, we had to wait through the whole, situation as well, of COVID before it was released. But by God, was it worth the wait? That and the new Top Gun for me, taking films to a new level. Great storylines and, great effect. Steve, how is David Glover? I hope he's okay. Person to ask about him, Billy, is Cookie. And again, I've not spoken to Cookie for a while. But yeah, when we interviewed him on the podcast, he was as right as rain. But he, the medication that he has to take for his schizophrenia and everything else. I think he takes something like 28 tablets a day, Billy. It's an amazing amount of medication. But I really enjoyed meeting him properly for the second time and interviewing him. And yeah, look, Davy Glover has got a hell of a life story, and I believe him and Cookie are going to write a book. I'm not sure whether I'll be publishing it. I haven't been asked, but ultimately, let's see what happens with with them if they can put the book together. When is Liam's book out? Says Dave. Liam Kennedy, of course, who will be coming back to this platform at some point. His book will be out, I think, when Newcastle win a trophy. It's not time sensitive. It doesn't have to come out straight away. But that will come out when maybe Newcastle win a trophy. Let's hope that isn't too long. Has Charlie seen the film, and what did he think of it? He has seen the film. Yeah, he got the opportunity to see it. And ultimately, he thought it was fantastic. What gives you your drive to get things done, Steve? I think it's because we all have to live with ourselves. We've all got to live with our own mental state. I am the same as you and the next man or woman. When I'm alone, and I've only got my own mind to think of. And I can get bored easily. And I've been through a bad time this year with my mum passing away, and I just kept busy. And at times I've had periods of reflection. The death of Her Majesty the Queen has made me think about losing my own mum. And I know now I'm at the next stage of grief. I know I've passed those first 7 stages. I'm now in the last couple of stages, and although I'll never get over the death of my mum, I'm at that next stage. But I think it's just the need to keep busy. I like to have a routine. I like to make sure I exercise during the day. I like to eat the right things. I like to treat myself every now and again. I like to read a little bit. I like to write a little bit. I like to watch something on the TV. I like to spend time with my family. I like to spend time with my friends. It's all about organization in your life and just making sure that you don't just do too much of one thing. I've got ambition as well. I make sure that I used to set targets for events, for example, when I did events for 25 years and nothing was unachievable. I went from putting Malcolm McDonald on at the Portland and Felon and QFX. The total cost of that was 300 quid. And I was panicking about doing that, to putting Floyd Mayweather on at the City Hall in Newcastle and having, a 5-figure sum to cover to put him on. So it can be done, but it's just having the ambition and having the guts to go and do something, I guess. I never wanted to be a publisher. I never expected to be a publisher. That wasn't a plan. I wanted to write my own book. I hand wrote my own book and then typed it up and then went out to find a publisher. I eventually got one, and then, I wrote a book and then wrote another book and then wrote another book. Then I found I was hitting a brick wall and people weren't prepared to print my book because other titles were coming out. So then you just go, well, you know what? I'll set my own publishing company up. And that's what I did. And it's, I don't know, maybe I'm different. I've got that inside me, L. Stapleton. I've got that inside us. Maybe it's inside us all. You've just got to bring it out. You've got to want to do it. You've got to want to do things. I don't work well when I'm being bossed around. I like being my own boss in every job I've done. Even when I have been employed, I've more or less had my own, like say. So working on the doors, for example, I would be working for a pub or a brewery, but I was the head doorman. Working at the post office as I was working for the post office per se, but I was the sub postmaster. Running the news agents was my news agents. Running the companies that I've had. I've either been a partner or I've ran the companies myself. So yeah, I think that just driving us on is, you've got to have ambition. I think the difference with me is I know when to walk away. I got involved in unlicensed boxing. I knew when to walk away. I got involved in pro boxing. I knew when to walk away. I got involved in football agency. I knew when to walk away. And likewise, I'll walk away from the other stuff and move on. My focus at the moment is acting and getting this film done, and then hopefully taking that to the next level. And that's what I want to do. So will I leave other things behind? Maybe I'll park things. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't do any more books. Who knows? And none of us are guaranteed another day on Earth. We don't know what's around the corner. And that ultimately dictates everything. We're not in control. But what I can do is make sure that the time that I've got here, I enjoy it and that I give it my best shot, because you only get one crack at life. Did Albert not stick the craze in from the firm? Big Billy did. A lot of them did. But word has it that the craze wanted Albert Donahue to say that he'd murdered, one of the craze victims. Crazy, isn't it? Dead Man's Shoes is one of my favorite films, says Top Bobby. 2 seconds, I'll have a drink of water. 15 minutes left. If you want any more questions, get them in. That would have been a great interview. Not sure who you were talking about, because obviously I'm a little bit behind. Vendetta. That's the Danny Dyer film you're trying to think of. Yeah, good one. Do you think we could bring a boxing match in the future at St James's Park live on TV? I think Lewis Ritson will have his world title fight there. If he keeps on the same path as he will, I think he will be on there. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, the answer is yes, especially with these new owners. Yes, I agree about No Time to Die, Steve. Very good, as is Top Gun. Tom Cruise and all his stunts are superb. Yeah, he does them all himself as well. Him and Michael Crawford in Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. He used to do all his stunts as well. They're slightly different. A little bit random, but anyone looking for a good series binge, check out Yellowstone. Very, very good. Very good. I'll have a look for that then. Yes, John, I've noticed Yellowstone recently and thought I have to watch it, says Andrew. You won't be disappointed. Might give that a watch. Yeah, well, I might give it a watch as well. That was canny motivational, Steve. Oh, thank you, mate. Look, at the end of the day, Andrew, I'm a straight talker. I've thought at times about coming on and doing stuff about, various topics and various subjects, and I might well do it when I've got a bit of time. I've done this tonight because I had an hour spare, and I thought, you know what? I promised everybody on there I would do something at this point. I wanted to see where, some of these wonderful people were as well, who, don't do the football podcasts, and to see whether they'd stuck with us. I've got 49,000 plus subs, and I haven't got time to go looking through all my subs, and Mr. Sifter and Mr. Anderson and Stella, all these people who've come on tonight. It's people names who I'm seeing, and I'm thinking, do they jump in on the Newcastle stuff? I don't know, but it's great. But if I can motivate people, I will. I did an acting masterclass, which I was still embarrassed about doing because I'm not a master. But I went along and did it. I was asked to go along at the Actors Forge in Newcastle, and 20 people paid to come and be taught a lesson by me, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I know I can do the teaching side of it. I had to do that as part of my performing arts degree course. But if I can pass on anything, I will. I went to a school a couple of years ago in Sunderland and spoke to a lot of troublesome year 11s who didn't see any point in staying around for the rest of school, and I did that and spoke to them, and it turned a few of their lives around, which was great. I was asked to do that by a head teacher who I knew. So if I can help, mate, I will. I'll always do that. That's why we support things like the food bank, and that's why I did the Great North Run on Sunday for the Bradley Lowry. If I can help anybody, I will. Thanks for that. Hope everything goes well. Thanks, El Stapleton. Andrew says, please stick to the footy shows. That class and some great lads on, and I get many laughs. Nothing's going to happen with the football shows, Andrew. I'm going to continue to do them for as long as people want them. I have noticed since COVID, a lot of people, a lot of the channels have lost subs and have lost views, and we're no different. We all get hit with the same thing when life starts to take over again, or people are watching more, maybe TV or whatever, then things drop. And it's why I always feel like I have to sometimes reinvent the channel a little bit and bring in different content, and bring in different people. So, you have highs, you have lows, but we enjoy it, and we're still getting great views on the channel, and I never take that for granted. Stella loves Yellowstone. Imagine Michael Crawford in Mission Impossible, Andrew. That would be funny. Ooh, Betty. Really enjoyed this. Sometimes it's good to listen. Very therapeutic and relaxing. Almost a flashing blade tone detected. Was good to bump into the flashing blade, John. He was at the Great North Run start. I managed to get a quick selfie. I will show you it when I see you tomorrow. It's fantastic, man. But that's really kind of you, John. It means a lot when people say things like that, and you've got no need to say that. But thank you. I watch every day show, Steve, after work, all since lockdown. Big respect. Mr. Anderson, cheers, mate. Honestly, thank you very much, mate. Kenny, I'm going on Monday. He says, you didn't get to London, and Steve, the queue was 4 mile long to see Her Royal Highness. I ummed and ahed, and I think I told you, Kenny, me in-laws are away, so people that look after the kids is at a premium at the minute. And I ummed and ahed and thought I could go down there, I could stand for 9 hours, and then I'm going to have to get the train and come back and not even see the Queen. So I am going Monday on my own. Anybody's welcome to join us if I want to come. But I'm going to get down there, get into London for about 8:10, and I'm just going to head across to probably Westminster Hall rather than the Abbey. I think the Abbey will be chock-a-block. I'm going to go to Westminster Hall, which is where the procession starts. And if I can, I will work my way through London, get to Westminster Abbey and just try and be part of it rather than standing in one place. So that's my plan. I would like to see the Queen's coffin, and that's it. That's all I'd like to see. And just pay my respects and say thank you to her for everything that she's done, because 70 years service on the throne for this country is phenomenal. And as I sit and do this, I've just got the TV on in the background and just watching people from different races, colours, creeds, professions, backgrounds, working their way down those stairs, and some with tears in their eyes, some with holding their chests. It just tells you where we're at as a country, and how much respect this woman had, and the pomp and the ceremony makes you proud to be British. And I've probably had a conversation with a lot of people who watch the podcast in the last couple of years. I'm not proud of our country anymore. I'm not proud of where we are and the state of the country. But ultimately, this is like a flashback to the past and to history, and the Queen is like the last part of that history. It's the Elizabethan era is over, and it's a major change of history. It's a major change of history, and I just feel like I've got to be down there. I really feel like I've got to be down there, and I will go on Monday. So yeah, I will pay me respects. And if any of you are going as well, safe travels. That's great, Steve. I've worked with young offenders. Andrew, yeah, I mean, again, I would be happy to go and talk to young offenders if they thought it was beneficial. I don't place myself in these positions. If people come to me and say, Steve, could you help do this or help do that? Then I try. I can't help everybody. I'm only human. But I do try to help people. And I think that's what life's all about. Because if you get, I personally get more satisfaction out of helping others than I do from someone helping me. If that's, if that makes sense. Do you think Ashley will step into a football club wrecking machine chairman again? Oh, Mr. Anderson, please don't say that. He will if he can buy a club cheap. But there's not many cheap clubs around. Derby County's had a close escape, I think. But you never know. You never know. Once bitten, twice shy. It didn't go well at Newcastle. The only thing that he got out of that was free publicity for his company. And, he never paid for any of the advertising. So God help anybody who gets Mike Ashley at the club. Andrew says the Queen wasn't just an amazing monarch. She was the very DNA of this great country and a beautiful human being. She should inspire us all to be better people. That's what I'll take from her passing. Wonderful words, Andrew, and I agree 100%, mate. She was Great Britain, and we are going to struggle, with this next, few weeks and months. I think genuinely feel it'll be a big change. Has King Charles III got what it takes to be as great a monarch as his mother? Well, only time will tell. He has some big decisions to make. The rumour today that Prince Andrew could be back in some kind of office. The imminent book coming out by Harry. Going to be some problems over the next few months for him to sort out, which will be far greater to deal with than a leaking ink pen. Kenny Ranson says, we bend over backwards to help people and get slapped in the face. This country is ruined. I personally think it's down to Brussels winning control. God, Kenny. I mean, we're coming to the end of the show. We could do a whole show on Brexit. Brexit's not even finished yet. Boris claimed it was, but ultimately it was never finished because the Northern Ireland situation was never fully finished. And we didn't have time to see whether Brexit was a good thing or a bad thing because we got hit with a pandemic. And now that the pandemic's lifted, we've now got war in Ukraine. So we still don't know where we're actually physically at with Brexit. And although he's lost his job as Prime Minister, Boris has really swerved a bullet. And he will continue to say that his legacy was he got Brexit done, he got us a vaccine for COVID, and he was pals and backed Ukraine when nobody else did. But in the grand scheme of things, mate, I've got to agree with you. The country is ruined. And it's only going to get worse. And I've often said to my wife that, I'd love to live abroad. I'm not sure where yet, but I'd love to live abroad once the kids are old enough to stand on their own 2 feet. I'm married off and have got kids of their own. I don't think I want to be in this country in 20 years' time if I'm still alive. Kirk, not only was she the Queen, she was World War II veteran. Whenever a World War II veteran dies, I always feel it. We owe that generation. Kirk, we do, and I think some of that generation would be horrified at what is going on now. I really do. My granddad was a World War II vet, died in 86. Absolutely top bloke. Lancaster bomber, gunner. Also served in Africa, in the desert. But yeah, I think you're right. West Bram Fonts wants Steve Bruce out. Yeah, no surprise there. Chris Banks says, Wellington Arch might be a good place to stand where that coffin is transferred from the gun carriage to the hearse. That is a great shout. I am going to photograph that, Chris. 2 seconds. Bang. Thank you, mate. Thanks for that bit of local knowledge by the sounds of it. Nice one, Steve. Catch you on the box tomorrow on the Amigos. Mr. Anderson, thanks for your support. Much appreciated. Mr. Sifter says, I hope not. I was gutted with Virginia Guffer accepted the payoff. I wanted to see him in court. Mr. Sifter, I cannot really believe that she kicked up such a fuss and then accepted the payoff. I really, really can't. And I 100% agree with you on that. Absolutely bizarre. But, there you go. It's, money doesn't talk, it swears. And, for me, it's the end of that, really. Unless there's another bit in the small print that says that you can take out another injunction in some way, shape or form. But yeah, it looks like that one is over. Any news on the Tyne Bridge? Will it get painted? It looks awful. Well, I had a close look when I was running over it with a Great North Run, but word has it, yes, it's going to get done, Tom, but it's going to take some time. We need a leader of true conviction who will make decisions for the benefit of the country and our people and not care what other countries are. All I see is spineless pretend leaders. Andrew, politics is like that now, mate. It really is. I'm quite a confused voter. I've got to be honest. In the local election, I vote Labour. In the general election, I really do vote now on who I feel is telling the truth. And I guess that comes down to personality and how good a narrator they are. So it's a weird situation. And even if I didn't vote Labour in the local elections, then it wouldn't make a heap of a difference because everybody does up here in the northeast. So the Labour politicians around here tend to do good things for the area as well. So, it's a strange situation we're in, mate, but the country is a mess. Hope she gives some of the money to the girls she got for Epstein. Stella, what a great point. I doubt she does, though. I doubt she does. Sure is, Steve. Thanks for the show, Steve. Nice one, mate. Yep, we're at an hour. Here we go. Do you think Liz Truss will do a good job as Prime Minister? Tom, she's got a hint of Thatcher about her. I'm not sure whether the viewers think that's a good thing or a bad thing. She sounds like she could do well, but until we see how she's going to sort this energy crisis out, mate, I'll reserve judgment. Mr. Sifter says, thanks for this tonight. I've missed this kind of chat. I really enjoyed it. I'll try and do one a week if I can. Yes, he is, mate. He is, Andrew. Okay, I'm going to go. No outro music, no intro music. It's as in and out as that, I'm afraid, on these shows. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll try and do another one next week. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Have a great night. Take care. God bless. I wish you well.